Welcome to the Big D Breakdown. I'm your host, Larry Lace. This week we're breaking down all the latest news from Week 5. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Poddex, for sponsoring this episode. You can check them out today, poddex.com, and use the promo code Larry21 for 10% off your first purchase. We'd also like to thank Audible for sponsoring this episode. You can check out Audible today for a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook of your choice. Visit audibletrial.com/Larry21. So our first main topic is the good, the bad, and the ugly of Week 5. It's hard to believe, but we're already 5 weeks into the NFL season. Even with the additional game put on the schedule, we're now 30% done with the 2021 campaign. For you Dallas Cowboys, things could not be going any better. At 4-1, Dallas sits atop the NFC East with 2 wins already within the division. Hated Philadelphia Eagles have 1 divisional loss thanks to the Cowboys. The Giants, meanwhile, have 2, and are arguably the most banged-up team in the NFL. Lastly, Washington, the team most people thought would be the Cowboys' toughest competitor, has just 2 wins. One over the Giants, and the other against Atlanta. Not only is Dallas sitting pretty well in the division, they compare very favorably to the best teams within the NFC. The Cowboys have scored the most points through 5 games of any NFC team, totaling 170 points so far. Their point differential of plus 53 is second only to the undefeated Arizona Cardinals. Dallas is also tied with the Rams, just 1 game behind Arizona for the best conference record in the NFC. Riding a 4-game winning streak and about to take their show on the road to New England, let's take this moment to look back on the good, the bad, and the ugly from a 44-20 victory over the New York Giants. On the good, the last time the Giants were in Dallas, we all know the terrible outcome that occurred. Exactly 367 days to the day of this episode, quarterback Dak Prescott suffered a compound fracture of his lower leg and ankle. Many wondered what version of the young quarterback we would see once he made his comeback. No one is wondering any longer. Besides the interception on his opening drive and a fumble later on, Prescott was his usual phenomenal self, throwing for 3 touchdowns and eclipsing the 300-yard mark. Dak was in complete control of what the Giants' defense showed him. To be able to finally vanquish the demons that come from the combination of the field he was injured on and the team he was playing at the time was even sweeter. All year, the media has been relentless in bringing up the situation. Now it is truly just a part of history. Having the game that Prescott had while earning such a decisive victory should just add to his already sky-high confidence. If that is the case, the rest of the league has more to fear than Prescott ever does of extending another play with his legs. And now on to the bad of Week 5. To say that the New York Giants were limited in this game would be a massive understatement. On their second drive of the game, as the first quarter was nearing its end, an errant pass to running back Saquon Barkley turned out to be much worse than just an incompletion. Barkley accidentally stepped on quarterback Jordan Lewis's foot and severely sprained his ankle. Within minutes, his ankle ballooned to the size of a grapefruit, ending his day. Later on, receiver Kenny Golladay extended his knee. While he did manage to stay in the game for a bit, in time after the fact, he was rendered almost useless. The biggest blow, however, came late in the second quarter when quarterback Daniel Jones attempted to score on the goal line and instead obtained a concussion, which took him out of the game as well. While all these weapons gone, one guy still seemed to wreak havoc on the Cowboys' defense. Rookie Kadarius Toney had his way with Dallas defenders, catching 10 passes for 180 yards. Not for an unwise decision of his own, resulting in his ejection for throwing a punch, it would have been even worse. Whether it's the lack of a threat and losing a game, or someone understandable letting down to the guard after these injuries, it's still not a good look to let one dude go bananas when there isn't anyone else of a concern doing anything. This happened the week prior against Carolina, resulting in more points than the Giants mustered. It's not a trend I would advise the Cowboys defense to continue moving forward. And now on to the ugly of Week 5. 2 weeks ago, when I talked the bad section of a 41-20 victory over Philadelphia, I chose to address the defense's inability to cover simple crossing routes over the play of their offensive line. I chucked up the issue as facing one of the best interior defensive lines and gave it a pass. Unfortunately, issues came up once again in this game, primarily in regards to center Tyler B. And so it must be discussed whether it is the issue of handling top-notch defenders, bull rushing him, or the several snaps that missed the mark. This could be a major problem moving forward. While the Cowboys do not face the Rams in the regular season, a potential postseason matchup could be in their future. If you don't think Aaron Donald will take full advantage of shaky center play, you're greatly mistaken. Dallas could also face the Buccaneers again when it matters most. Their fearsome duo of Vita and Ndamukong Suh will expose that flaw as well. If they are not already doing so, the Cowboys would be best served by giving Connor McGovern several attempts at center. Tyler needs another offseason in the weight room to bulk up, and his snap issues may have been due to lots of reasons. But the littlest things can derail a special season. It definitely is something that can no longer be swept under the rug. And now, taking a look at 3 players whose stock rose and 2 who fell. The Dallas Cowboys finally had their long-awaited match with the New York Giants in Week 5, and suffice to say, did not disappoint. Once again, the Cowboys let an inferior team hang around in the first half, only to put the pedal on the floor when it really mattered and leave the final score looking like a blowout. Considering that this is the first game that quarterback Prescott has played against the Giants since he sustained that gruesome injury a year ago, it wasn't surprising that this was billed as a revenge game for Prescott and the Cowboys. Now, as they sit at 4-1 atop the NFC East and are shooting up local and national power rankings, it's time to take a look at this week's stock up and stock down. Dallas Cowboys stock up, home field advantage. It wasn't that long ago that many felt like AT&T Stadium wasn't quite the home field advantage that Jerry Jones and company had intended it to be when they opened its doors back before the 2009 season. Today, that almost feels kind of hard to believe, including the postseason. The Cowboys have a 59-44 lifetime record at Jerry World. But more importantly, they've won their first 3 home games to open the 2021-2022 season. Better yet, they've done it in a very convincing fashion, averaging over 40 points a game across them. In fact, the Cowboys have scored 40 or more points at home 11 times since moving to AT&T Stadium. 7 of them have been with Prescott under center. 4 of those have come since the start of 2020, and 2 of them already came this season. Away from AT&T Stadium, things have been a bit less decisive this season. In Week 1, they kept things very close with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that has serious hopes of repeating as world champions, but ultimately couldn't pull out the victory. In Week 2, they beat a very good Los Angeles Chargers team, but had their weakest offensive showing of the season, scoring just 20 points. The Cowboys will be back on the road this week in Foxborough against New England, and it will be fascinating to see if they can take some of this momentum they've built across their homestand and translate it to the road. Dallas Cowboys stock down. Center Tyler Badaz. Apologize for saying his name wrong. So far, Tyler has proven to be far the weakest link along the Cowboys' offensive line. The second-year center from Wisconsin has started just 9 games in his young career, but he may not start too many more if he keeps playing at the level he has to open the season. To start, his snaps were all over the place on Sunday afternoon. Prescott even fumbled one of them, resulting in a turnover. Admittedly, Dak should have been able to hang on to that particular snap, but there's no denying that Tyler should have gotten it off cleaner. I'd have an easier time letting this one go if these snaps were a consistent issue for him. Instead, every time the football is snapped, it feels like an adventure. Adventure may be great when it comes to the next Indiana Jones movie, but that's not what I'm looking for from a routine part my starting center's job. It's not just his bad snaps. He's lagging behind every phase of the game. According to PFF, he ranks 29th out of 35 centers. He's got an atrocious 38.8 pass blocking grade, third worst among anyone at his position. Additionally, the team has made it a priority to give Connor Williams snaps at center over the offseason in the event that Tyler did not win the starting job. While Williams' play at guard has left a bit to be desired, he has more or less performed to expectations and has been serviceable. I'm not completely ready to give up on Tyler. I still think he's a talented player who needs time to develop. However, his play has been a consistent issue for the Cowboys this season, and he's been one of the weakest starters on the entire roster. With potentially more competent options waiting in the wings, you have to wonder how much longer he is going to lay claim to the starting center position. Dallas Cowboys stock up. Wide receiver Cedric Wilson. It's not that Cedric Wilson did something truly crazy during Sunday's game against the Giants. What he has done over these past 4 weeks, has been invaluable to the Cowboys. With wide receiver Michael Gallup still sidelined by the calf injury he sustained during Week 1's loss to the Bucs, Wilson has filled in very admirably as the team's third wideout. Considering how important Gallup is to the Dallas offense, the fact that Wilson has made his absence an afterthought has been huge. After 6 games, Wilson needs just 64 yards to eclipse his career high. He's not doing anything remarkable, but he has been a steady and reliable presence on each game he's been in. He's also a true threat with the ball in his hands and has yet to drop a pass. Oh, and he's also still providing the Cowboys with some quality reps on special teams too. Even if he isn't posting eye-popping stat lines week after week, he's stepped up big time for the Cowboys. Once Gallup returns from injury, offensive coordinator Kellen Moore should still find ways for Wilson to contribute because he can be a big weapon in this Dallas offense. Dallas Cowboys stock down. Slow starts. There really hasn't been much to complain about with this Cowboys team in recent weeks since losing on the road to the defending Super Bowl champions. Dallas has gone 4-0, pulling a close one against an extremely talented Los Angeles Chargers team, and then dominating their last 3 opponents by a combined score 121-69. Trayvon Diggs is bailing out at a historic level. Dak Prescott has more or less picked up right where he has left off in 2020. Randy Gregory has arrived in full force. Zeke is back with a vengeance. Micah Parsons looks like the real deal. Even facing mounting injuries to key players, the Cowboys have battled adversity stronger than they have in any season in recent memory. Early on in the season, they look like they have the pieces to be a genuine contender in the NFC. And yet, these games have all felt a bit closer to me than their final scores might indicate. Why? Because this team loves to start slow and play with their food. Heading into halftime for each of these games, Dallas has really dominated. They trailed both the Panthers and the Buccaneers, while they led against Los Angeles and New York. It was by a single possession each. A lone team they led by multiple scores was the Philadelphia Eagles, who they held a 13-point lead over going into the half. I'll be the first to admit this feels sort of nitpicky. The Cowboys are 4-1, currently sit atop the NFC East, and when the clock hits 0, they've blown out their opponent more often than not. Plus, it isn't about how you start, it's about how you finish. We should enjoy nice things, and when it's truly mattered, the Cowboys have dominated. But let's be honest, that might be just fine against teams like the Giants and Eagles, but it won't work later in the year when they play better coached teams with more talent, like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Arizona Cardinals. These slow starts have become a concerning trend. Sooner or later, it might cost the Cowboys a game if they don't address it. Dallas Cowboys stock up. Linebacker Jabril Cox. Looking for a player to keep your eye on? Moving forward, look no further than linebacker Jabril Cox. Following Jalen Smith's recent release, which we talked about last week, which you can hear my thoughts by going to this video, the rookie from LSU could stand to benefit the most from the newly up-for-grabs snaps. On Sunday, he saw only 4 defensive snaps, but he made his presence felt in them. Particularly, he made one of the biggest plays of the game when he brought Daniel Jones down before the goal line for a huge 3rd and goal stop. Jones, unfortunately, did not return to the game after the collision and is now in concussion protocol. Late in the 4th quarter, Cox also recovered a Giants onside kick to help put the game on ice. Jabril Cox hasn't played enough to have had a big breakout game quite yet, but it feels like only a matter of time. Someone is going to need to take over the snaps vacated by Smith's release, and he seems like an obvious answer. He also offers the Cowboys a few things that Smith couldn't at this point in his career. Coming out of LSU, Cox was widely regarded for his coverage skills, an area of Smith's game that was arguably his weakest. I think the future is bright for Jabril Cox as long as he keeps taking advantage of these opportunities. He's off to a good start, making the most of his limited playing time so far. Expect to see a lot more of him going forward. Now, our next topic, Week 6 predictions. Patriots versus the Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys continue to not only be the talk of the football world, but of the NFC. They've won their last 4 straight games, are looking quite the contender. Some are already saying they could be Super Bowl bound this early in the season, based on how efficient they've been. Of course, it's best to take the season one game at a time, especially now that the Cowboys hit the road for their upcoming Week 6 matchup. The Cowboys head to Gillette Stadium for a date with the New England Patriots. On paper, the Cowboys are definitely the better team, but one can never count out future Pro Football Hall of Fame head coach Bill Belichick. Patriots are 2-3 so far this season. Even though they don't resemble the dominating team they once were, they shouldn't be written off entirely. The Cowboys will undoubtedly have their work cut out for them against the Patriots. Current betting odds have the Cowboys at a minus 3.5 point favorites on the road. The Cowboys have minus 175 moneyline odds, while the Patriots are the underdog at plus 155. The total for the game is set at an over-under of 50 points. The Dallas Cowboys are red hot at this point in the regular season. They're scoring with ease on offense. Their defense is winning the turnover battle against opponents. And all those special team woes are pretty much gone. At the rate they're going, Cowboys will only continue improving over time as they grow cohesively as a team and maintain their consistency. As the team to beat in the NFC East, the Cowboys are clicking on all cylinders, and even though they're on the road in Week 6, should easily take care of business against the Patriots. I'm predicting a 37-16 Cowboys win to continue their winning streak. And now, our final topic, can the Dallas Cowboys take advantage from the fallout of the Las Vegas Raiders' John Gruden situation? I have to admit, I let out a sigh of relief to watch the off-field drama that is unfolding around the NFL. And it doesn't include the Dallas Cowboys. The Las Vegas Raiders have inexplicably been dealt a blow because of an investigation involving a Cowboys divisional rival. Confusing to say the least, but the message current Raiders GM and former NFL Network talking head Mike Mayock has pushed is the Raiders still have goals in the season. His statement was meant to condemn the act, but also to keep his team from imploding. Just speaking to a few close friends who follow the Raiders as religiously as I follow the Cowboys, I have to think the locker room might already be fractured. The remarks made by the former Raiders head coach were indeed despicable. The owner allowing his former head coach to continue to coach men who were affected by the disparaging remarks should have never happened. I'm in the belief that the Raiders waited too long to remove their head coach. Their play on Sunday only strengthens my point. I also think the Raiders' rumored money flow issues had a part in not firing Gruden as opposed to waiting for him to resign. Imagine your boss secretly telling other people they hate something about you only to turn around and ride your efforts to advance their career or legacy. Then his boss finds out and waits to do something. Raiders even granted defensive end Carl Nassib a day off to deal with the mixture of feelings he's dealing with right now. I hate to be a circling vulture, but that's exactly the type of headline that should give every GM in the NFL the green light to pounce. The Raiders started the season 3-0 before losing their last two games. The latest loss came to a Bears team who might have caught the Raiders at the right time. The Raiders lose to their hated rival Broncos in Denver this Sunday. A small fire sale could ensue. The flames could get bigger if players start to check out. It appears as if those strong autumn winds could come to a stretching halt. My Raider friends believe that Mike Mayock played second fiddle when constructing his team, and with John Gruden finally out, Mayock can hire the head coach he wants. More importantly, he can construct a roster he wants without approval. I originally believed that Raiders backup center Nick Martin would be a good addition to the Cowboys as he gets to reunite with his brother Zach Martin. I continue to believe that he could be a target, but the Raiders do have some intriguing pieces that could be available. This offseason, I wanted the Cowboys to go after free agents cornerback Casey Hayward, yet he signed a one-year deal with the Raiders. This unusual first season in Las Vegas could prompt the veteran corner to leave in free agency without giving the Raiders a chance to really retain his services. The biggest name of the bunch could involve a former second overall pick, backup quarterback Marcus Mariota. He was brought on board because of Gruden, so trading him might be a statement. The Cowboys could use a veteran backup with experience, so that is a name I'm interested in seeing come up in trade rumors. Mariota's $3.5 million base salary is very appealing, but he is only under contract for this season. Some of you might be asking what type of compensation would the Raiders be looking for, so the natural storyline would be reuniting Cowboys defensive tackle Tristan Hill with former Cowboys coordinator Rod Marinelli. Unfortunately, Hill remains on injured reserve, and it's now been over a year since his injury occurred. His situation remains unclear if he's going to be ready anytime soon. There's been a steady pipeline of Cowboys players and coaches that have gone from former Cowboy to current Raider. If the Raiders become sellers at the deadline, the Cowboys should try and reverse that trend. Thanks for tuning in and watching the Big D Breakdown. Let us know your thoughts on the topics we cover by leaving a comment in the comment section below, or you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at the Big D Breakdown. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you want to support us, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/thebigd. Your support helps our channel grow. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.